Good afternoon. First of all, thank you for coming. Welcome to this chapter of itSMF, and thanks Andrea for inviting me. I'm Suvish. I live in Germany, so I'm coming from Germany. I live in a smallish town called Essen, if you have heard of it. It's close to Düsseldorf. As job, I work for Zoho Corporation. I head the marketing for Europe for Zoho Corporation. Have you heard of Zoho? That's a good start. In my next 15-20 minutes, whatever I have, what I wanted to discuss, of course, introduce Zoho, what we do as a company, the applications that we have, and also give a little bit of context of how we are transitioning, or we have transitioned over the years, the itSM to the larger departments that we have, like the whole enterprise service management, to name a term around it, right? So quick introduction about the company. Have you heard of Manage Engine? Yeah, so it's part of Zoho. Part of Zoho. We started our company back in 1996. We started Manage Engine division in 2002 with SDP, Services Plus that we have, competes with the likes of Jira or ServiceNow or Atlassians of the world, right? So we have similar products around applications management, your endpoint and all of that, right? itSM, the whole IT management part of it, right? And that's when we realized that the market around cloud is also exploring. Businesses are trying cloud-based apps. That's when we released Zoho as a division, next division, right? Now Zoho.com, what we have today as well is a collection of business apps. We have applications on CRM, HR, business analytics, your finance portfolio, so a bunch of 55 different applications, right? Then we released a few other brands over the years, and it also gives a transition that we've had, how to build apps that are not just required by the IT teams, but also teams that peripheral to right? So what is essential for business like HR or your finance team or your marketing team, sales team, and then why each of these teams have to work together, why we need to build apps that has to work together, how the data transition should take place, all of that, right? So it gave us the perspective how to build these apps. Now why it's important is also the whole little bit of numbers. So as I said, 96, so we're not a small company anymore, although we are private, so we are not listed on the market. We have never raised any funds. We are in 150 countries, our customers as in. We have 55 plus apps in Zoho itself, about 15,000 employees worldwide, and 100 million users. So this I'm not counting Manage Engine, just Zoho.com, our cloud, has about 100 million users worldwide. So people might have used our email app or one of the messaging apps like Click, for example. It competes with Slack or it competes with Teams, right? So we have competition in every sector of the app that we have, right? This is our global footprint. So these are our offices, multiple locations around the world, right? In Europe, we've been having customers here for the last 20 years or so. We didn't have offices here in Europe. We have partners, for example, we have our management partner Kidan here, we have our Zoho partner Nextdeal here. So like them, we have about 400 odd partners just in Europe, right? So that we can service our customers. This is our data centers. One of the differentiating point we have is we run our own data centers. So we are not on any hyperscalers, not on AWS, not on Oracle, Google, you name it, right? So these are data centers that are operated, managed by Zoho. It again helps us to build applications and control applications end to end. So that's one of the primary reasons. But then now looking back, it also makes sense financially, right? You can't expect to run a really profitable company with 100 million users and 120 products if you are on a third-party hyperscale. Right? So you can see the costs that are coming up as you start scaling up. Right? So this is in Europe, we have data centers, obviously, right? Another differentiating factor that we have compared to many Silicon Valley based or American based company is our distribution of customers worldwide, right? So we are not really focused, or rather our customers are not really America's centric. Our customers are widely distributed. So when I say America is 47%, it also includes Latin America, the South and the North, right? And that's an equal, almost equal split. Now this allows us to also manage any headwinds, the economic conditions and all of that, right? So it kind of finally balances out situations, right? Portfolio facts, right? So this is, again, none of this is acquired. All of this is built within. Now this all would be important when you look at the context of why, if you look at the pillars of enterprise service management, right? As you go beyond ITSM, what is needed, right? You need flexibility between the applications so that people and the teams can work together. You need processes, not just for the sake of processes, but for people. Processes that are not just defined by ITIL, but also processes that can be changed for people, right? You need speed, and your pandemic and the last 4-5 years taught us you really need collaboration. Right? Now these are the things that were missing, let's say 5-6 years ago. Yes, we had applications, yes, they were able to communicate with each other, but post-pandemic we really saw why applications have to have collaboration in them, why we need tools that can be flexible enough to change processes or automate processes, right? And this, it is important because all these applications are not just built by us, but also built on similar technology platform. So imagine if we had to acquire different companies, different platforms, then integration is another challenge, right? Because these are built on different data structures, different platforms and things like that. And we are seeing it today in the market when large organizations, they acquire products. One of the problems that we often hear from CIOs when we speak to these customers is integration. Integration is the biggest challenge. Data exchange is the biggest challenge when it comes to platforms that are acquired versus that are built ground up on a similar technology platform, right? Of course, you have APIs and things like that, but it's not the same experience, right? Yeah, so that's how we have grown to that 100 million. I've already explained that. Brands, of course, all of this wouldn't matter if you don't have good customers. What I just have here is a snapshot of various brands that use Zoho at different scale. For example, here I have Daimler or Mercedes-Benz, right? They have built their first dealer management system online on our CRM platform. So this is in India, Mercedes, and now they are expanding into Southeast Asia as well. They have taken a completely different approach to do away with dealerships. So dealerships will not be owning the car, but they will be service centers, right? So they don't have to worry about inventory. Now for that, they had to massively change the system so that dealers also, you don't lose their confidence, but at the same time, a change in business structure. And now that change in business structure has to be also complemented by the tools, right? So of course, changing things in Germany is very difficult. So they chose India for their market. And in India, Mercedes is one of the fastest growing luxury car brands. In fact, we have BMW there, we have Audi there, but Mercedes is the fastest growing because they build their cars there, right? Compared to the imports that come from BMW and all that, right? So they build their entire DMS on this. Now why I'm saying that is, it is also an extension of that EMS thing which I was talking about, right? ESM, sorry. They had a business plan. Your tools needed to support that business plan, which included the 4 elements that I mentioned. Process that has people-centric approach, the flexibility because they are changing the business plan, and then collaboration that is needed between vendors, people, within the teams, external vendors, within teams and all of that, right? So you need tools that could support it. Now the third part is, for example, there is another European brand here, Puma, right? Now Puma, in the whole of Southeast Asia, they use our expense management software to expense your employees' bills and things like that, right? And they have extended it to inventory and things like that, right? Headquartered in Singapore, as in their Asian operations, and then they are expanding now. So this is another example of why it is important that applications have to have flexibility and vendors have to have that flexibility in different sections. Right? So security, of course, if you have to run operations at this scale, you can't ignore this part, right? So it's standard, and also us having our own data center helps because then you are in control of your own destiny completely, right? GDPR, one aspect I would say here is, I mentioned GDPR there, but as a company we have this privacy as part of a philosophy from the day one, right? Now why is it important is, we say 100 million users, a lot of these users are also free users, right? So people who are using our applications because we've just given access to them, and we never ever have done any advertisement to them, right? So it's not like, if you look at other free service providers, you would see ads on their applications if you're using email services and things like that. We've not done that even for our free users, and we don't share these contacts and things like that, right? So GDPR came in 2018. For us, it was just extension of whatever we've been doing. It wasn't something new. It wasn't something that we had to discover new process in our system and things like that, right? So how do we help businesses with digital transformation? And I thought when we were talking about enterprise service management, I thought it's best to take our own example, right? So because we are confident about what we do within the company, and it could probably give you some food for thought to ask questions and then have some discussions around it, right? So we are not a small company, as I mentioned, right? So pardon my childish display of boxes and shapes here, but I thought this is easier to explain, right? So as with any organization of our scale, you have your departments, HR, and most of you are from IT department, you would be dealing with other departments within your functions within your organization, right? You have customer support, IT, legal, HR. We have few more functions on our company, and then you have regional offices. So we have 25 offices worldwide. So this is an example. Like for example, we have European offices, and we all have a central desk system. So this is our own tool. It's called Zoho Desk, or internally we use our Manage Engine Service Desk Plus, which is for our internal use. And all of these regional offices, they have requirements, right? People have requirement on payroll, they have requirement, I'm giving you an example of HR, let's say, right? You have requirement for payroll, you have requirement for, grievances and things like that, right? What happens is, the regional office then logs their ticket on the central desk system. It could be about, and then the HR team, they are handling multiple things. They are handling, with this service desk system, what helps them internally is to manage their workload, manage their expectations from different teams and things like that. And what they are doing is labor compliance, vendor management. Labor compliance changes from every country. In some countries, it changes with every state, right? So they are doing all of that as part of the system. Now, if you look at it, what we are doing internally is we have our HR system. We obviously have the central desk system, right? We have HR system, which is called People Plus, which does all your knowledge management, your performance, your leave, and Europe, you would know that now in certain countries, for example in Germany, you have to log in, log out, you need to keep data of that, right, digitally. Now that's something which is provided, right, and then you have Zoho Learn for knowledge management and things like that, right. Now, if you again go back to the pillars, I mentioned about flexibility, I mentioned about the speed at which you could bring these processes and collaboration part, right? Now we couldn't have achieved this whole workflow if these tools weren't talking to each other, if these tools weren't easy for a non-IT user to perform, right? Now today what happens is, because the tools are flexible enough, they are easy to learn, the HR team is able to build their own workflows. They are able to connect this, let's say, people with create a low-code development tool, because it's all on the interface, right? So that agility is brought in when you are using these tools, right? Quickly, I will go over because Andrea is signaling me. So how do we then provide, as a vendor, then our responsibility becomes in what sort of flexibility you're providing to the customer. Now we of course can, because all of these tools are built on our platform, we can just provide one monolithic application and then have the customer use that whole application structure, right? But what we have done is, over the period of time, we have provided point solution, right? So you have a need for a digital signature tool, then we have Zoho Sign. You have a need for expense, we have expense management, right? And then in addition, then what we said, okay, we have this, but then what about finance team as a whole wants to use multiple applications? Then we have bundled these tools together, right? So then they can use bundles, various bundles. Sales team wants, we have a sales bundle, finance bundle, marketing bundle, right? Which brings some of these point products together. Back in 2018 or 17, we launched a mega bundle called Zoho One. Now this is an example, true example of ESM, because it brings all our 55 apps together, not 55, but 50 apps together onto a single package. Now when you look at this package, you as a customer, you don't have to then sign up for any other product. It all comes as a pre-integrated package. HR team can start using our people application, and then it gets connected to the IT team or the sales team and things like that, right? So that's this package, and this is how, so we have got about 70,000 customers, businesses using Zoho One. And we also made that pricing extremely simple. When you're using 55 applications, you're using 55 voices, 55 different vendors, 55 support teams and all of that. That's your regular IT thing, right? But here we said, let's eliminate all of that, right? It should be one invoice and you can get all that, right? And we also said it shouldn't be expensive. Why should it be expensive, right? The cost of building an app is coming down over the period of time. Let's pass that on to our customers. So we had sort of a slogan internally that it should cost you less than a coffee a day, right? So this is my first trip to Zurich. Went to have a coffee today morning. It cost me $3, right? So Zoho One costs you less than that if you're using per user, right? So I think I don't have time. Yeah. So I'll be here until evening, but I had some slides on AI and things like that. But probably let's discuss when we have time. Sorry.
If not, we can ask Zia.
Yeah? Sorry?
Yeah,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can ask Zia. Why do you need me? Okay, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.